For those who surround you, need no funny kind. You can't see what's on my brain, I live inside my mind. Out of space and out of sight, you need me in my line. Need no face, don't need no phonies, no, no, no. Need no snakes, no only homies down for show. On go, go, go. Get a book and get the front and we load up and roll, roll, roll. I got kids, yeah, I got staff, I make a little need more, more, more. I sell records, you sell packs, not on my level, no, no, no. I'm a pop star, I'm a rock star, I'm a winner. Think I'm not hard, you smoke rock hard waste, man, why you dumb? I'm with airline, we on airlines like we on the run. I'm with Tay, girls run up on me, they done. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline.
Let's talk trilogies. We love them, don't we? We do love a definitive answer as to who is the very best between two high-level fighters. Who adapted the most, who evolved the most between bouts, who dominated, who clearly outskilled, as opposed to, perhaps, who simply got lucky. And when each of the fighters, as each one won, or if there was any kind of controversy, the calls for a trilogy get loud. And the organisations often oblige us. Merci. Of course we're going to talk about Max and Alex Volkanovski. We rockin' and shockin' now. Can Volk get any faster? Is it possible? Any more accurate? Like there's a glitch in Holloway and he's just like lagging by a beat. That right hand man. Money. Look at that back. She's a squirter. Lunging for a floor kebab. We've all been there. Who's the best boxer in the UFC? But let's first take a little trip down memory lane and remember some of the best trilogies of all time. You can't talk, like I think there's probably like a legal precedent that you cannot talk about UFC trilogies without talking about the absolute wars between Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture. Couture took a third round TKO in June 2003 before the Iceman came back, returned the favour with a first round KO in April 2005. Then, for the rubber match, Liddell proved to have Couture's number once and for all by knocking him out again, this time in the second round. So this is the trilogy that no one really needed. Tito Ortiz versus Ken Shamrock. Ortiz won by third round TKO. Ortiz won by first round TKO. Was there really a question as to who's better? And if there was, Ortiz by first round TKO. I believe this was the first clean sweep in UFC history, but certainly not the last, as Frankie Edgar took all three over BJ Penn as well. Charlie Olives and Nick Lentz went 2,883 days between their first meeting and the final one. That is one hell of a way to drag out a storyline. The first fight ended in a legal knee, but Charles Oliveira got the better of Nick Lentz in both fights 2 and 3. 2 by a submission win and 3 by a TKO. We can't touch on the longest turnaround in trilogy history without talking about the shortest as well. Andrei Arlovski and Tim Sylvia. These guys waited just 84 days to turn their duology into a trilogy. with Sylvia taking the win in both 2 and 3. BJ Penn versus Matt Hughes. Penn's 21-second knockout of Hughes in the 3rd and final fight is the fastest rubber match result of any in UFC history. One that's very close to my heart, Stipe and Cormier. Stipe became the first fighter in the UFC to face the same opponent 3 times in a row. Obs, we don't talk about that first round knockout that ruined my entire year in the first fight, but Miocic came back and exacted sweet revenge with a brutal 4th round TKO to reclaim the belt, and defended it again via unanimous decision. In Strikeforce, we saw Thompson and Melendez gain 1 unanimous decision each, and then in the final fight of the trilogy, Melendez just inched forward, just slightly. I'm slightly better than you with a split decision win. This was a closely contested trilogy of fights that really saw each guy bring the best out of the other one. 2 tough, battle-tested men slugged it out using all the brain and brawn that they had at their disposal. And you never really knew who was going to win, or if it was going to make it to a decision. In Pride, Silver and Jackson created 3 highlight reels in their 3 fights. Such intensity, such savage finishes. 1 TKO and 1 KO for Silver, and 1 cheeky, super fast KO for Jackson to close the whole thing out with a beautiful counter left hook. Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez began their bitter feud with a 64-second knockout from Dos Santos to claim the belt, but Velasquez came back, claimed it back, and defended it in the following 2 matches. Matt Hughes handed Georges St. Pierre his first professional loss via a first round buzzer-beating armbar that came at 4 minutes and 59 seconds into their UFC 50 fight back in October 2004. In 2006, Georges St. Pierre would exact revenge with a head kick and follow-up punches that resulted in a 2nd round TKO to claim the welterweight title and get an armbar submission of his own to close out the trilogy just over a year later. Oh, and did you know that I met Georges St. Pierre? He told me he liked my nails. I've only mentioned it 50,000 times. And finally, for this already extensive list, but I'm sure you're gonna let me know which ones I've missed, Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard answered no questions, despite Frankie's fight name literally being the answer, as it ended in a draw. Maynard took the first, the second was a split draw, and Frankie won the third. Even Stevens Thompson. And now Volkan Holloway, which has already made history in its own way, becoming the first trilogy where none of the fights were pay-per-view headliners. There's an argument going about the depths of the internet that neither Volk nor Holloway are pulling in the PPV numbers that some of the other athletes are. But to be fair to the UFC, when this trilogy fight was originally booked, it was slated to be the headliner, but that was before Max had to pull out due to an injury. So let's recap the story so far, shall we? In 2019, Volk took the unanimous decision win over Holloway and took his belt for good measure. He was on a 19-fight win streak or something, and still hasn't lost since 2013. In fact, when he signed with the UFC, he'd already won 6 titles from fighting in 3 different weight classes across various promotions. It was an all-round perfect performance by Volkanovski to snatch the featherweight title off of one of the greatest fighters of all time. But it was his leg kicks that did the most damage. I believe he's landed something like 75 significant leg strikes in that fight. He executed his game plan perfectly, kept Max at distance, and scored valuable points. In their rematch 6 months later, now fighting in front of that eerie 2020 pandemic silence, it was much closer. After Holloway clearly won the first 2 rounds with damaging shots and better use of range, Volkanovski turned up the work rate round over round until the final moments of a wild, empty-the-tank 5th round. It could not have been much closer, especially in the 3rd and 4th. The champ defended by a 47-48, 48-47, 48-47 split. As I've already alluded to, it is unusual for a trilogy fight to be put on when one fighter has 2 wins over the opponent, but there was some controversy surrounding that split decision that went to Volkanovski in the second fight. The fans thought that Max won, plus he's definitely earned himself another title fight with incredible performances over Yair Rodriguez, what a fight, and Calvin Kattar, who we were all a little concerned for in that one. Incredible work by Max on both accounts. And we've seen Volk go from strength to strength as well, with that controversy fueling him. His fight against Ortega may be one of the greatest title fights ever. How he escaped those two super close submission attempts, we may never know. Maybe he's actually a liquid. Volk just wants to show that he is on track to being called the greatest featherweight of all time. And after Max got injured, he took another step closer with a masterclass over Korean Zombie. We talked about that fight on the night, so I'll link that video for you on the end screen, but Volk looked unbeatable. Whenever you see the UFC featherweight champ compete, you are seeing the best version of him. You're getting something steady and thoughtfully crafted. But in that fight, woof! He worked behind a jab so fast you could hear it before you could see it. Zoom! Tenderizing Zombie's face. His boxing background was on full display. Volk is just so skilled with his hands. He was also implementing his leg kicks, takedowns, the full arsenal. Even when Zombie finally found a home for his uppercut, Volk took the hit and kept on working. Zombie never quite knew what was coming, thanks to Volk's feints and the unpredictability of his combinations. The punishment just kept coming and coming until Herb Dean had no choice but to call it off, as Zombie's face was just one big swelling and his legs trembled beneath him. And now, for me, we sit on the precipice of a matchup that just has so much excitement attached to it. We love watching these two fight other fighters, so we lap it up when they come together. No matter how many times it happens, I'll watch it again. I don't even know how this one's gonna go. You do. By the time you're watching this, I don't. I'll still watch it again. Both of them have the highest level of striking in the division, perhaps in the whole of the UFC. We mentioned Volk's jab, but what about Holloway's? Everything comes from Max's jab. He feints and throws it away to disguise his movement, and the combinations coming behind it. His use of footwork, angles, rhythm, and high output have annihilated the highest level of fighters in the division, like Ortega. He's never really been a power puncher, but he puts people away through productivity. He says that for many fighters, they get discouraged if their hardest punch doesn't knock someone out. But for Max, he loves it. He's like, get ready for a long night, lads. He attacks the body, he glides around the octagon, throws lengthy combinations. Sometimes he'll give away the first few frames if it means setting the pace and opening up those body shots. But when the Max momentum builds, nobody is safe. And of course, we all know now that he can take damage. Jesus. He's absorbed an incredible 1,907 shots across 25 fights, and he has never once been knocked out or even knocked down. This trilogy fight is not just about answering the question who is better, Volk or Holloway. It's about getting closer to solving the question of who is the featherweight GOAT. Volk believes a third win over Holloway would grant him that title, but there's still the matter of Aldo. Yes, Volk has beaten Aldo and Max has beaten him twice. That wasn't prime Aldo. And you cannot ignore the Brazilian veteran's body of work. Aldo is 31-7, 13-6 in the UFC and 10-4 as a UFC featherweight, but with 7 title defenses over 2 separate title reigns. And that's before we get to the WEC, which was the sport's premier home for lighter weight fighters back when the UFC's lightest division was lightweight. Aldo notched wins over Cub Swanson, Uriah Faber, and current American top team coaching mastermind Mike Brown, just to name a few. I think that Volk is looking to cement his legacy before he makes the move up to lightweight, to draw a definitive line under the featherweight division and close that chapter in spectacular fashion. But Max wants his damn belt back, baby! Enough chit-chat. I will see you when the fights start. Welcome back, baby. A lot has happened since you and I last spoke. Mostly extreme sleep deprivation and ungodly amounts of Mexican food. But also, we've been watching UFC 278. No, we time travelled forward. don't know why I ever think this is a good idea. I've been watching UFC 276. Probably. We've seen Donald Cerrone retire after one hell of an MMA career to pursue another hell of a career, possibly, TBC, on the silver screen, in the movies, in Hollywood. It was a letdown of a sugar fight that ended in a no contest due to an accidental eye poke. Ooh, we saw a beautiful performance from Bam Bam. Alex Pereira probably earned himself a fucking title shot, god damn it, despite still not going anywhere near a wrestler and not showing us anything new. And Jalen Turner, slick, quick submission, 45-ish seconds in round 1. Nice. And Ian Gary continues to look really good. Not like attractiveness wise, just, you know, good at his job. It's time for what we're all here for. Nonsense from my face. Let's answer some questions, boys. It's time for a pop quiz. And Volk is already popping that jab, boy. He just seems to get faster every time we see him. Like, next time they're gonna have to broadcast his fight in half speed so the human eye can detect it. Just look at that speed! He doesn't look like he should have the speed advantage, you know what I mean? But we shouldn't be surprised because his first fight, his first MMA fight, was 6 seconds long. His second was 30 seconds. His third was 30 seconds. His fourth was 2 minutes, which must have felt like a freaking marathon. And right now he's swinging, finding a home for that right hand, as if he wants to add 2 minutes 30 to that list. And he's talking. What do we think he's saying? Grit? Grit?
Be comfortable at being uncomfortable.
Grit. Grind it out. Whoa. That right hand, man. Money. Holloway's getting his own right hands in. Look. Look at him brawl. Yes. Ah, this is exactly what we wanted from this fight. No, don't end the round now, damn it. In between rounds, the corner told Max to overwhelm Volk, which we know Max can do, so we'll just have to see if he follows that advice. He is crowding him, pressuring him, but he's not like letting it go and flow yet. Oh, we're gonna see how Holloway defends the clinch. Like, Volk is so strong. Look at that back. It's probably wider from shoulder to shoulder than he is from foot to head. Slippy little devil. You might wish he stayed in that clinch. Short right from Volk has opened up. Oh, that cut's nasty. She's a squirter. Those matrix moves from Volk and a slick combo from Holloway, and yikes. Inside leg from Volk made Max look like a young lad falling out of Tiger at 3 AM on a Saturday morning and lunging for a floor kebab. We've all been there. Seriously, how does someone with such a big head always manage to get that head out of the way of a sniper striker like Max? Who's the best boxer in the UFC? Volk is just playing with his food right now. And we dancing. We dancing. Alex just grabs hold. It must feel like you're submerged in concrete. He gave up wrestling at the age of 14 because he didn't like the look of the uniform he'd have to wear. But as a mixed martial artist, he certainly does lean on that wrestling and his opponents to like bring this high pressure style. What the hell was that? It's like a clinch feint. I loved it. Oh, Holloway's looking a little bit like a melty candle in round 4, isn't he? But Volk, crisp as an autumn morning, bite of a Granny Smith as you step on a leaf. You step on a snail on an autumn morning. That crisp. His jab is perfection, and he just gets those combos in so quick and he's gone again. It's never a single strike with Volk. He made his professional boxing debut, I think, in 2015 and won via unanimous decision. He's so skilled with his hands. We've seen him pick apart other fighters, like But now he's just playing with Max. That clinch defense, that strength. We rocking and shocking now. Can Volk get any faster? Is it possible? Any more accurate? Like there's a glitch in Holloway and he's just like lagging by a beat. Alex has said before that he sees everything in there. Max has got to get a finish here or it's game over. But if Alex moves up after this, there's the potential that they'll do like an interim. I don't think he's gonna vacate. He says that he wants to get the lightweight belt and keep both belts busy. But best laid plans. The chance is there that maybe Max will get a belt back if he fights someone else for it, but it doesn't look like it. This thing is ever gonna dissipate. This fight isn't even close. It's like watching poetry. Like I told you. Alex always brings the best version and the better version. Max just has to go Mad Max if he's even gonna feel good about this fight. Done. I don't know. It didn't feel like his spirit, his Calvin Cater war spirit was there in this fight. He better not fucking retire. This is my fucking house. This is my house. But that is your house, Alex, you're right. Ain't no one gonna be arguing about who's the frickin' best now. Every time it's like, well, this must be peak person, right? The rest of us sometimes bite the inside of our own faces. Thanks for hanging out with me. I do so enjoy our time together. I'm gonna go watch the Izzy fight now, which I keep forgetting is a thing. But if you're not ready for this to end, I will link that UFC 273 video for you and one more surprise one on the end screen. And as always, we can hang out every single day over on Instagram, so get involved. I do hilarious things like this.
It's going to be rough. It's going to feel like it's going on for a long time, so it's going to be hard to stay alert. It's going to be even harder to be quiet, but you have to do both. You have to do every single thing I say, or we will not make...
Like, subscribe. I'll see you in a week for the beginning of the build-up to UFC London, baby.